So God is rolling away the reproach, and he is replacing it with courage, fearlessness, and the fire that is so hot that it will burn away all the dross and catapult you all at the same time. So I'm making this video because it took me a minute to understand what God was saying when he, in Joshua, about I'm rolling away the reproach. This was in Joshua chapter 5 when they were on Gilgal. Okay. Sometimes the most simple things can be hard to grasp. But anyway, I'm gonna give you the definition for reproach. I'm looking at my notebook. And it is, reproach is the expression of disapproval, disappointment, blame, criticism, disgrace, shame, scorn. And, you can go on and add more to it. Timidity, shyness, things of that nature. Okay, so I wanted to maybe talk through this with somebody else that may not understand, exactly what rolling away the reproach looks like. So reproach comes from, like the Israelites, after you have been wandering in the wilderness and affected by slavery, because at one point the Israelites were working, and what Pharaoh done was he gave them a quota to meet. Okay, and he took the straw away from them. Straw has to be put into cement blocks or whatever to hold it together. So he took the straw away from, made it hard for them to retrieve it. So just say, for instance, you're at work and all of the supplies you need to make airplane parts are like right there with you. So instead of your employer supplying you with your parts, they tell you got to go to another city, okay, to get the parts. But at the same time, I need you to complete this job by the end of the day. So that's how Pharaoh was making it hard for the Israelites to complete their quota. So he was, just a hard taskmaster, you can call it. All right. So in the midst of being in the wilderness and in slavery, you can become downtrodden, and end up dealing with depression and all this stuff. So when God brings you out and into the promised land, all those negative things that you experience in the wilderness can show up. So this is also what the giants may look like in your promised land. Okay, so the giants will rear their head when it's time for you to step out. But because of the slavery that you experience in the wilderness, it's still, in your heart, and that helped shape your mindset. Those things will cause you to shrink back from moving forward. It'll cause you to shy away from reaching out or sending that email or sending that text message, when that text message is that thing that you need to, cause your business to prosper. Okay, to get in contact with the people that you need to become partners with, and whatever it is that God has called you to, whether it be ministry, a business, whatever God has called you to do. Some other examples of what could have happened, while you were in the wilderness: you might have had experienced some repossession, an eviction, experienced divorce, or maybe even death of a spouse or a child or a parent, or any type of failure that you might have experienced while you were in the wilderness. Also, when it comes to people and relationships, you may have had some dishonor and mishandling, okay, and people turning their backs on you, when in reality they were just trying to put out your lights. They wanted you to shrink back, for you to dim your light. So that experience that you had in the wilderness will show up in the promised land as a giant, unless you allow God to roll away the reproach. In other words, in Ezekiel 36, he says, I will save you from all your uncleanness. I will summon the grain and make it plentiful, and I will not bring famine upon you. So this is an example of what poverty and lack looks like in your life. Okay. And I will also make I will also make the fruit of the trees and the crops of the field plentiful, so that you will no longer bear reproach among the nations on account of famine. Okay, so I just said it was like an example of what poverty looks like. Because think about it, if you don't move forward, if you don't reach out and send that email or that text message, or if you don't create that slide, so that you can do that presentation, these are things that causes, or if you don't upload that video for YouTube, these are the things, the steps that you need. These are the building blocks that you need to create your business, okay, to rebuild your life, to establish your life. And if shame is shining brighter than courage, then you're going to end up in poverty because you're not moving forward, because things are not. Now, don't get me wrong, God will definitely take care of you, in the midst of this, but he wants more for us. He said, I come that you might have life and life more abundantly. Okay. James 1:2-3 says, consider it pure joy when you face various trials of many kinds, because you know that a testing of your faith produces perseverance. Faith is tested and refined. So this is a scripture that you can use to kind of shape your mind into thinking on, well, I know what I went through, but it was all for my good. A video I did 2 weeks ago, I said it was working for your good. Everything that happened to you worked out for your good. As long as we're not dwelling on, well, this happened to me. Why did this happen to me? Well, I stepped out, but this happened. I stepped out, but I failed. I stepped out, but it didn't work out for me this time. But see, when God rolls away the reproach, then that fear that you had, it will be replaced with courage. Okay? And you won't worry about people's opinions of you. Okay? Thinking, well, I wonder what they're saying. I started my business and then it failed. I wonder what people are thinking. It won't matter what they are thinking, because God has replaced that fear and that anxiety with fearlessness. Okay? And you no longer dwell on the past, your past failures. Isn't that what scripture says? Forget those things which are behind. So you're forgetting everything old that happened in the past, because all things are or have become new. And he even asks you, can't you perceive it? This is the season of things being renewed in our lives. Okay? He's giving us a fresh start. We're entering into a land flowing with milk and honey. So he is rolling away the reproach in our lives. And I mentioned in a previous video about how he will give you a new name. And say, for me, he gave me a name that meant fertile land. Okay? So I will no longer be known as desolate. Okay? But Beulah, a married land. No longer forgotten. So if I'm a fertile land, that means whatever I put my hands to do will multiply. Whatever I step forth in doing will prosper. Okay? And if you remember, Canaan, which is where the promised land is, it is also known as a fertile land. So you see how he will confirm to you with where he's taking you. So there will be no confusion. So when you step out, you'll be successful this time. All right. So that's what God is doing right now. He is replacing all of the negativity, the heartache, the pain, the fear, the timidity, all of that. He's replacing all of that courage, fearlessness, and he is going to put a fire up under you that is going to be so hot that it's going to burn all the dross away from you and catapult you all at the same time. Be encouraged, because he is rolling away the reproach. Talk to you later.